We all probably have some honey sitting in the kitchen cupboard, right? Maybe for tea when you feel a cold coming on. But what if I told you there's this specific kind of honey from like way down in New Zealand that's not just sweet, that it's actually packed with these compounds?
Yeah.
Things scientists are really studying and, get this, doctors are using in hospitals.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. Manuka honey. It's become, well, really well known from New Zealand mostly. And it's got this huge reputation now, not just as, a natural thing, but something with serious antibacterial clout, immune support, gut healing, and there's actual research behind it.
Okay, so the big question for us, and probably for you listening, is, is it really all that? Does Manuka honey live up to the hype? And maybe more practically, what could happen if you actually took a spoonful, say, every single day?
Yeah, that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to peel back the layers, get past the buzzwords. We're going straight to the science, the surprising facts, the real benefits we found in the material you shared. We're going to figure out why this little jar might be, well, a much more potent superfood than most people think.
All right, let's start right at the beginning. What actually makes Manuka honey different from, say, the regular clover honey you find everywhere? The sources say it's specifically from the Manuka bush nectar, mainly in New Zealand, maybe a bit in Australia too. But the key thing seems to be this compound, MGO.
Right, MGO stands for methyl glyoxal. And you can basically think of MGO as the engine driving Manuka's power. It's what gives it that really significant antibacterial kick. And this isn't just stories. Research has looked at this in clinical settings. It's shown it can work against some pretty tough bacteria, even some that have become resistant to our normal antibiotics.
Wow. And that's where it gets really practical, isn't it? The fact that medical grade Manuka is actually used in hospitals, like in New Zealand and the UK, for wound dressings. That's pretty remarkable.
Exactly. It connects the lab work to real world healing. And that MGO number you see on the jar, that's basically its strength rating. MGO 100 plus is, fairly mild. 250 plus is getting stronger. And then you see 500 plus or even higher. Sometimes that's considered therapeutic grade. It directly tells you the antibacterial intensity.
So it's not just about killing germs, though. The material suggests Manuka does more, like actively supporting your digestive system, boosting your immune response, calming inflammation, and helping with things like colds, ulcers, even skin infections. Sounds like a multitasker.
It really is a complex mix. Let's drill down into those key compounds that make it unique. Like you said, MGO, methyl glyoxal, that's the star player for its antimicrobial punch. Helps knock out harmful bacteria, whether it's a sore throat or something in your gut.
Then where does that MGO actually come from? Does the bee make it?
Good question. It comes from DHA, dihydroxyacetone. This compound is naturally high in the nectar of the Manuka flower itself. Then, as the honey matures in the hive in the jar, that DHA gradually converts into MGO. So more DHA in the nectar means eventually stronger MGO in the honey.
Okay, that makes sense. And the third one mentioned, leptospirin. What's its job?
Leptospirin is interesting. It doesn't really do the healing itself, but it's crucial for verification. It's a unique chemical marker found only in genuine Manuka honey from that specific Leptospermum scoparium plant. Scientists use it to prove the honey is the real deal, authentic Manuka. It's like its fingerprint.
So MGO for power, DHA is the source, and leptospirin for proof.
And these underpin the grading systems, right?
Exactly. They're the basis for ratings like UMF, Unique Manuka Factor. UMF is a specific New Zealand certification. It guarantees the honey's purity, potency, and authenticity by measuring MGO, DHA, and leptospirin levels. So when you see UMF 10 plus lank or 15 plus lank, 20 plus on a jar, it means it's been tested, certified, it's met the standards. It's another layer of assurance you're getting genuine, potent Manuka. Now, here's something really interesting the sources brought up. Manuka isn't just about killing the bad guys in your gut. It's also a prebiotic.
Yes, and that's a really important point. Unlike, say, antibiotics that could just wipe everything out, good and bad, Manuka honey seems to selectively feed the beneficial bacteria already living in your gut, especially strains like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. It actually nourishes your internal allies.
Huh. So it's kind of like targeted support. Hits the bad stuff, helps the good stuff.
That's a great way to put it. And think about how much our gut microbiome influences everything. Digestion, mood, energy levels, your immune system, even how well you sleep. So supporting that ecosystem with prebiotic like Manuka, that's potentially quite impactful. Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, definitely. Let's focus more on that gut health angle because, who doesn't deal with bloating or indigestion or reflux sometimes? It sounds really promising for that.
It really does. First off, by acting as that prebiotic, it's giving your gut's good bacteria the fuel they need. helping to create a healthier, more balanced internal environment.
And what about specific problem microbes, like the ones that cause ulcers?
Right, back to the MGO power. The material we looked at mentions studies showing Manuka can inhibit H. pylori. That bacteria is strongly linked to stomach ulcers and chronic gastritis. And what's really fascinating, according to the research, is that it seems to do this without devastating the friendly gut microbes nearby. That's a big difference compared to many broad-spectrum antibiotics.
That selectivity is huge, less collateral damage, so to speak.
Exactly. And beyond just fighting specific bacteria, it seems to have this soothing quality. It acts almost like an internal anti-inflammatory balm for the gut lining. So for people dealing with inflammatory conditions like IBS or maybe just mild gastritis, it might help calm things down. Some people even report less acid reflux, especially if they take it on an empty stomach, maybe because it coats and soothes the esophagus.
Okay, that's the gut covered. Let's shift to immunity, especially with, seasons changing, people feeling run down. How does Manuka help there?
Yeah, that scratchy throat feeling just generally worn out. That's when you want your immune system firing on all cylinders. Manuka seems to offer a few different layers of support here.
How so? What's it doing?
Well, first, there's that direct antimicrobial action we keep mentioning. Studies have pitted it against common culprits like staph infections, E. coli. The sources even noted it held its own against MRSA in lab tests. So taking it gives your body a direct weapon against invaders.
So it's like giving your internal defense team some extra firepower.
Pretty much. And it's not just about killing germs directly. Research also suggests compounds in Manuka can actually stimulate your white blood cells. These are your body's first responders. So Manuka might be giving them a nudge, telling them to get active and mobilize more effectively, like a pep talk for your immune cells.
And antioxidants, we hear so much about those. Is Manuka packed with them too?
Oh, absolutely. Our bodies are constantly battling oxidative stress from pollution, stress itself, food choices, not enough sleep. This creates free radicals, which damage cells and can weaken our immunity over time. Manuka honey is loaded with antioxidants, especially things called phenolic compounds. They help neutralize those free radicals. Less stress on your cells means your immune system has more energy to focus on real threats.
Is that maybe why some people use it before traveling or after a hard workout?
Could be, yeah. Using it as a sort of natural immune shield, helping the body stay resilient when it's under extra strain.
Okay, now, probably the most common use people think of, sore throats. Seems obvious, but Manuka takes it up a notch.
It really does. I mean, even the World Health Organization acknowledges regular honey as a decent cough suppressant. But Manuka, with its unique makeup, especially the MGO, just amplifies that soothing and healing effect.
So it's not just the thick, syrupy coating feeling good.
That coating definitely helps. Immediately reduces the pain, the scratchiness, the dryness. Great for singers, teachers, anyone who uses their voice a lot. But the key difference is that the antibacterial properties are actively working against the bacteria causing the sore throat. Studies show it can help suppress streptococcus, the bacteria behind strep throat, and tonsillitis. So it's fighting the root cause, not just masking symptoms.
Huh. And the sources mentioned something about allergies. That seems unexpected.
Yeah, that was a fun twist. It's still early days research-wise, but there's some thought that consuming raw, local honey regularly might help desensitize your immune system to local pollens. While Manuka is usually from New Zealand, the general idea that raw honey could potentially ease seasonal allergy symptoms for some. It's an interesting possibility.
Man, it really is versatile. And speaking of that, you don't just have to eat it. The skin and wound healing aspect sounds incredible.
Oh, this is one of its most well-documented and medically accepted uses. Like we mentioned, actual medical-grade Manuka is stocked in hospitals, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. They use it routinely on tough wounds, surgical sites, diabetic foot ulcers, burns, skin infections, even stubborn acne sometimes.
How does it work on the skin? What's the mechanism?
It's pretty clever, actually. It works in a few ways. One, its high sugar concentration literally draws moisture out of bacterial cells, dehydrating and killing them. Two, it creates a moist protective barrier over the wound, which is actually the ideal environment for skin cells to regenerate faster, potentially with less scarring. And three, that ongoing antibacterial effect helps prevent new infections from setting in while it heals.
So if you've got a cut that's slow to heal or a minor burn or just really irritated skin,
applying a bit of high MGO Manuka could make a real difference. And yeah, it's sticky initially, but it does tend to absorb and do its job without being messy forever.
Okay, let's go a bit deeper now. Beyond immediate fighting and soothing, what about the protective stuff? Anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects.
Right, this is moving into longer-term wellness territory. Think about chronic inflammation. It's like your body's alarm system is stuck on high alert 24/7, and that low-grade, constant fight mode is linked to so many major issues: heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, even cognitive decline.
And Manuka can help dial that down.
The evidence suggests it can contribute. Compounds in Manuka, not just MGO, but also flavonoids and others, have been shown in studies to help reduce inflammatory markers. What could that mean for you? Potentially less joint pain, better cardiovascular support, maybe faster recovery after exercise, or even calmer skin if you have eczema or psoriasis. We saw reports of people noticing less arthritis pain or fewer migraines. Not magic, but maybe their system just getting a break from that constant inflammation.
And the antioxidant side ties into that.
Definitely. Oxidative stress is that damage from free radicals we talked about earlier. It contributes to aging, ups the risk for chronic diseases. Manuka is full of antioxidants that act like scavengers, neutralizing these damaging molecules. They help protect important cells, like in your brain and heart.
That idea that antioxidants could potentially improve mental clarity by lowering brain inflammation, that's pretty mind-blowing.
It's a fascinating hypothesis raised in the material, isn't it? Reducing that low-level stress on brain cells maybe could help lift brain fog. A spoonful a day for potentially clearer thinking. It's an intriguing thought.
Okay, now, there's a section in the sources about potential cancer-fighting properties. We need to tread carefully here, right?
Absolutely. Very, very carefully. Let's be crystal clear. We are not saying Manuka honey cures cancer. That's not what the research shows at this stage.
So what does the research show? What kind of studies are we talking about?
Okay, so these are primarily in vitro studies. That means they were done in labs using cancer cells in test tubes or Petri dishes. In those controlled lab environments, MGO and other compounds extracted from Manuka honey did show some interesting activity. They were observed, for example, to slow down the growth of certain tumor cells. They also seem to trigger apoptosis, that's programmed cell death in some cancer cell lines, and even reduce the spread in models for breast, skin, and colon cancer.
Okay, so lab dishes, not people. Huge difference.
Massive difference. It's promising enough that scientists think more research is warranted, maybe moving into animal models eventually, but it is nowhere near being a proven treatment for humans, period. What makes these very early lab findings intriguing, though, is an observation they made. It appeared that the Manuka compounds were selectively targeting the abnormal cancer cells while largely leaving the surrounding healthy cells alone.
Which is like the holy grail for cancer treatments, right? Avoiding damage to healthy tissue.
Exactly. That's the challenge with chemo and radiation. So again, not a treatment, not a cure. But the sources suggest that based on these very early lab results, it's something researchers are interested in exploring further. Could it one day be a complementary tool? Maybe, but that's pure speculation based on lab work for now.
Right. Got it. Okay, let's tackle the question probably on a lot of listeners' minds. Why Manuka? Why not just regular honey? The stuff I can get cheap at the supermarket.
It's a fair question. And look, regular honey isn't bad. It has natural sugars, some antioxidants, maybe a tiny bit of antimicrobial activity. It's fine for sweetening your tea. But as the sources make really clear, when you're talking about therapeutic potential healing, immune support, gut health, Manuka is just on another level entirely.
What are the main differences we should keep in mind then?
Okay, let's break it down based on the comparison points provided. Source: regular honey comes from all sorts of flowers. Manuka only from the Manuka bush in New Zealand, Australia. MGO content. Regular honey has almost none, like less than 5 milligrams per kilogram. Real Manuka, anywhere from 100 up to over 1,000 milligrams per kilogram. Huge difference. Antibacterial strength, mild, maybe negligible for regular honey, strong, clinically studied and proven for Manuka. UMF rating, regular honey doesn't have one, authentic Manuka does. Medical use, rare to non-existent for regular honey. Established use for medical grade Manuka in hospitals.
So basically regular honey for taste, Manuka for targeted health benefit.
That's a perfect summary. Which naturally leads to the next crucial point. How do you make sure you're actually getting the real potent Manuka honey you're paying for, not some fake or watered down version?
Yeah, this feels super important. If you're going to spend the money, you want the real deal. How do we choose the right jar?
You absolutely have to read the label carefully. There are two main trustworthy systems to look for, both linked to New Zealand standards. First, the UMF rating unique Manuka factor. Look for the registered UMF trademark. This certification checks MGO, DHA, and leptospirin to guarantee it's authentic, pure Manuka and measures its overall potency. For noticeable benefits, you probably want UMF 10 plus or higher. UMF 15 plus or 20 plus is even better for more therapeutic uses.
Okay, UMF. What about just the MGO rating?
That's the other reliable measure. It tells you the direct concentration of methyl glyoxal in milligrams per kilogram, mg/kg. MgO 100 plus is a decent starting point for general daily wellness. MgO 250 plus offers more robust support for immune and gut health than MgO 500 plus, Xfinity 500 plus, some better 50 plus Drip, or even higher. That's potent therapeutic grade stuff. Good for wound care, active infections, significant inflammation. Often you'll see both UMF and MgO on the label, or at least one certified number.
And the sources warned about fakes being common.
Unfortunately, yeah. Because it's valuable, some products are labeled Manuka, but might be blended with cheaper honeys or just don't meet the standards. If the label doesn't clearly show either a UMF rating with the trademark or a specific certified MgO number from a reputable lab, be skeptical. And honestly, if the price seems way too low compared to certified brands, it probably isn't genuine high-grade Manuka. Authentic, tested Manuka from New Zealand costs more for a reason. Some brands mentioned as reliable are Comvita, Manuka Health. They use UMF and MgO. Wetherspoon is another known brand, but they use their own system called K-Factor, which measures pollen count, not MgO directly, so it's a bit different.
Right. So the key checklist, make sure it says New Zealand origin, look for batch certification if possible, and definitely find that UMF or certified MgO number on the label.
Exactly. Get those right, and you've likely got the good stuff. Okay, so now you have this precious jar of authentic, potent Manuka. How do you actually use it day to day?
Let's picture the listener, jar in hand. What's the plan?
Okay, for general wellness, just boosting your system, maybe helping your digestion. The sources suggest about 1 teaspoon per day. Lots of people like taking it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. The idea is it coats your throat nicely and gets into your digestive system before other food interferes.
What if you feel that tickle in your throat or you think you're coming down with something?
Then you can up the dose. Maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons, potentially up to 3 times spread through the day. The trick is to let it dissolve slowly in your mouth. Really let it coat the back of your throat. And remember that super important point. Don't stir it into boiling hot tea or coffee. High heat, generally over 100 degrees air or about 38 degrees C, can degrade those beneficial enzymes and reduce its power. Lukewarm is okay, but not hot.
Good tip. And for using it on skin, like a cut or burn.
Clean the area first, obviously. Then apply a thin layer of the Manuka honey directly onto the wound. Cover it with a sterile bandage or dressing. You'll want to change that dressing and reapply the honey daily.
What about for digestive support, like trying to manage reflux?
Taking that teaspoon about 15 to 30 minutes before you eat might be helpful there.
Gives it a chance to coat the esophagus and stomach lining before food arrives. Might help soothe things, or even improve regularity for some.
Any storage advice? Does it go in the fridge?
No, don't refrigerate it. That tends to make it crystallize really fast and get rock hard. Just keep it in a cool, dark cupboard, away from direct sunlight or heat sources like the stove. Treat it like regular honey storage, basically.
Okay, we've covered the science, the benefits, how to choose it, how to use it. But let's tackle some myths. With anything popular, there's always misinformation floating around.
Oh, for sure. Good idea. Myth number 1, we probably hear a lot. All Manuka honey is basically the same.
Right, and we definitely know that's not true now after discussing the ratings.
Exactly. The difference in MgO levels between a low-grade jar and a certified UMF 15 plus or MgO 500 plus is enormous. The rating is everything for potency.
Okay, myth 2. The darker the honey, the stronger it is. Nope, color isn't a reliable guide. It can vary quite a bit depending on the season and the specific area the bees were foraging in. Ignore the color. Look for the certified UMF or MgO number. That's your actual measure of strength.
Myth 3, and this is a big one. Manuka honey cures everything. It's a miracle cure.
Yeah, we need to shut that one down firmly.
Yeah.
No, it is not a miracle cure. It's a very powerful, natural support for specific things. Your immune system, your gut, skin healing, reducing inflammation. But it will not replace necessary medical treatments for serious diseases. It won't magically reverse diabetes or cure cancer. It's not a silver bullet. Think of it as a valuable tool in your wellness toolkit, best used alongside a healthy lifestyle, not instead of proper medical care.
And the last one, the classic skeptic line. Come on, it's just really expensive sugar.
Well, yes, it contains natural sugars, fructose and glucose, like all honey. But calling it just sugar completely ignores the science. It has a lower glycemic impact than table sugar, for one. But more importantly, it's packed with those bioactive compounds, especially MgO plus enzymes, antioxidants. Things table sugar or corn syrup definitely don't have. Its proven antibacterial effects alone set it worlds apart from just being sugar.
Okay, important clarifications. Now, what about safety? We know it's natural, but is it safe for everyone? Any exceptions?
Generally, yes, it's very safe for most adults and older children, but there are a few really important exceptions highlighted in the material. The big one, infants under 12 months old, absolutely no honey, Manuka or otherwise, for babies under 1. There's a small but serious risk of infant botulism from spores that can sometimes be present in honey. Their little immune systems just can't handle it yet.
Okay, crucial point for parents. What about people with diabetes?
Because it is primarily sugar, even though it's natural and lower GI than table sugar, it will still raise blood sugar levels. So if you have diabetes or issues with blood sugar control, you need to be cautious, use it very sparingly, count the carbs, and monitor your levels closely. Definitely best to talk to your doctor or diabetes educator before making it a regular thing.
Any issues with allergies, like bee sting or pollen allergies?
It's possible, though pretty rare, to react if you have severe bee or pollen allergies. Honey contains traces of bee proteins and pollen. If you have known severe allergies, especially anaphylaxis, definitely check with your allergist first. For milder allergies, maybe start with a tiny amount or do a skin patch test just to be safe.
And does it interact with any medications?
Interactions are considered rare, but the sources do advise caution, especially if you're taking certain drugs. Things like blood thinners, some immune-suppressing medications, or potentially chemotherapy drugs. Natural products can sometimes affect how drugs are absorbed or metabolized. It's always smartest to check with your doctor or pharmacist if you're on regular medication. Better safe than sorry.
You know, it's easy to think of Manuka as this trendy health food, but the history section in the sources paints a very different picture. It goes way back.
It really does. That perspective is important. The Maori people, the indigenous people of New Zealand, have known about the Manuka bush for centuries. They called it tonga, a treasure, and used the leaves, the bark, the oil, and yes, the honey, as traditional medicine for wounds, fevers, digestive problems, infections. They knew it worked, long before scientists figured out why it worked, before anyone knew about MGO.
And using honey for healing isn't just a Maori tradition either, right? It shows up in ancient medicine systems all over the world.
Exactly. You find references to honey's healing properties in ancient Egyptian medical texts, in traditional Ayurvedic medicine from India, in traditional Chinese medicine, going back thousands of years. So you could see Manuka honey today as modern science finally validating and understanding this ancient wisdom. Nature providing solutions.
Okay, let's bring it all together then. We started off asking if Manuka lives up to the hype and what taking it daily might do.
And based on this deep dive into the material, well, it seems that daily spoonful could genuinely mean supporting a healthier gut environment. Maybe less bloating, better digestion for you. It could mean giving your immune system noticeable backup, helping you fend off those seasonal bugs, or just feeling more resilient overall.
It could also mean faster healing for those annoying cuts or burns, maybe even improving some chronic skin issues, both if you eat it and apply it. And underneath it all, you're potentially helping your body combat chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, which is huge for long-term health, protecting your cells.
Yeah, all those potential benefits, potentially stemming from that one daily teaspoon. Now, we have to acknowledge, it's not the cheapest thing on the grocery shelf.
Definitely pricier than your average honey bear. It's an investment.
It absolutely is. But if you're serious about finding a natural product with actual research behind it to support your immunity, your gut health, your skin, your overall resilience, the evidence we've looked at suggests that authentic, high-rated Manuka honey could be an investment that really pays off, supporting your whole body, inside and out.
So as we finish up, let's leave you with one last thought to chew on. Remember those really early stage in vitro lab studies, the ones looking at cancer cells? Again, absolutely not a cure. We have to stress that. But
that specific finding, the observation that the Manuka compounds seem to selectively target the abnormal cells while sparing the healthy ones, that's genuinely thought-provoking, isn't it? It just hints, at how compounds developed in nature over millennia might possess unique kinds of intelligence or selectivity. Could nature hold keys, maybe as complementary approaches down the line, for tackling even complex modern diseases in ways we're only beginning to understand?
an ancient remedy used for centuries now showing these complex actions in modern labs, potentially pointing towards future possibilities. Definitely food for thought.